today I have something very exciting in store. You may be able to tell that behind me are the Hellfire Caves. Today I'm going to hell. Literally, rumour has it that those drips, because there is a church above, that is potentially body juice running down my forehead. As I was just saying, there are creepy faces carved into the chalk walls. This is one of them. As you can see, it has a cross on the forehead and a wide open mouth, which is kind of creepy, kind of sexual, kind of haunting, like the hollowed out eyes. I mean, I know there would be no other way to depict a face in chalk, but yeah, there's a few of these throughout the caves. And made some quite disturbing comments about women. Apparently his preference was to put a bag over a woman's head whilst having sex with her. Whatever tickles your fancy, I guess. Many people see her apparition, the apparition of a young woman in a wedding dress, fleeting through the caves, still looking for her lost love. I'm gonna go the more sinister looking route because I'm made from that kind of cloth, so. But I am getting very, very strange apparitions, and it's a very gruesome apparition. It's of a young woman, and her face is, and she's being like paraded around naked on this stick. Was a young woman sacrificed within these walls? I don't know whether they gave her a name and called her Mary in some kind of satanic roleplay. So I'm emerging from hellfire, slightly shaky, having came face to face with the devil, covered in body juice. Welcome back to the Brocarde show. Today I have something very exciting in store. You may be able to tell that behind me are the Hellfire Caves. Today I'm going to hell. Literally, this place has fascinated me for such a long time, and very, very strange that this place is probably the most weird scenario that I've ever found myself in. I have been suffering from extreme anxiety on the run-up to visiting these caves, and I'm yet to discover why. In fact, this is my second attempt to visit the caves. The first time, I literally got to the car park and I felt really, really ill, so I could not come inside. So this technically is attempt 2, but it's the first time I've got behind the gates. So today we're going to explore the Hellfire Club and find out what's fact and what's fiction. So come with me down that tiny little passage to hell. This place is absolutely pitch black and I am getting dripped on. It's a very rainy day, and rumour has it that those drips, because there is a church above, that is potentially body juice running down my forehead. The first thing you'll see when you come into the caves is this rather unsettling guy and quite strangely lifelike. I don't know if it's because it's pitch black in here, but his eyes are a little bit sinister. Anyway, we will continue to move deeper into the caves. Some historical facts about the Hellfire Caves. Behind me is Paul Whitehead, who was a right-hand man to Sir Francis Dashwood. Sir Francis Dashwood is responsible for the Hellfire Caves and everything that went on inside it. Now, apparently there are two ghosts, or two prolific ghosts, that haunt the Hellfire Caves, and one of them is said to be Paul Whitehead. He acted as an almost like bouncer type character, and when these rich noblemen would check into the caves for their nights of debauchery and sinister satanic rituals, he would take their name and their addresses and check them in here. When he passed away, he was said to have left his heart and a £50 note to Sir Francis Dashwood. There is an urn behind me that used to house his heart. I'm not sure where his heart is today, but that is the urn that it was gifted to Sir Francis Dashwood in. Now, we are talking about very different times. Imagine in the 21st century if someone left you their heart when they died and you had to carry it around in your pocket. This was not uncommon back in the day. In fact, there's a very famous story of Mary Shelley actually carrying around her dead husband's heart in her coat pocket. So different times, a whole new level of macabre and a whole new level of debauchery. Well, actually, debauchery and sex and prostitutes all exist today. But what's interesting about the Hellfire Caves is the rumours of satanic worship. As I mentioned, this is directly above the church. So hell, as in Hellfire Caves, this is supposed to represent hell. And the church above, obviously a symbol of light and worship and heaven. And a lot of the men who came to this club were very anti-Christ. They worshipped the devil. In fact, they used to mock religion. The women who came in here, the prostitutes, used to dress up as nuns. The men used to dress up as monks. And the figurehead, Sir Francis Dashwood, apparently used to dress up as the Pope or an apostle. Like he was the leader of the gang in his own costume. So what's intriguing me is this is a strangely eerie place. As I mentioned earlier, the body dew, it's a rainy day. This is a cave, there is water dripping. There's already like lots of very strange atmospheric noises. I can no longer see back up the tunnel that I came. So there is a very, very dim red light lighting the way. And eventually I'm going to end up in the Banqueting Hall and the Inner Sanctum, which is where all the grim, disturbing, satanic acts happened. And there are rumours that women were sacrificed, which is not substantiated because this man behind me, or should I say this man who is now represented by a very strange mannequin, he actually burnt the records. So as I was saying, when people came down to the Hellfire Club, they would check in and leave their names and all their personal details. And he obviously took a log of what went on between these chalk walls. And when he died, apparently he burnt all records and anything that linked to whatever went on inside this cave. Now, some may argue, why are you burning it if nothing untoward happened within these walls? Well, I'll let you decide, but everything leads to the illusion that this was a very debaucherous and satanic place. So let's continue down that very, very dark passageway. So I was just actually looking at these chalk walls, and it kind of looks like veins that are kind of carved into the chalk. There's also some very creepy faces that are etched into the walls, and as soon as I spot one, I will point them out. But some of them are supposed to represent, or one of them, should I say, is supposed to represent the devil. And in fact, what's actually scary is that I can no longer see anything behind me, like I just said. So yeah, we're just following this light, I guess. As I was just saying, there are creepy faces carved into the chalk walls. This is one of them. As you can see, it has a cross on the forehead and a wide open mouth, which is kind of creepy, kind of sexual, kind of haunting, like the hollowed out eyes. I mean, I know there would be no other way to depict a face in chalk, but yeah, there's a few of these throughout the caves. And there's another one around this corner. It actually has initials on the forehead, and there is another one on the wall over there that has a hat, getting completely dripped on here. This is the point of the caves where they split. Now, depending on which story you believe, one passage you go through if you're a sinner, one passage you go through if you're a saint. I actually don't know which way round it is, so we're gonna take our chances. But also, the more realistic theory is that the women used to go through on the right hand side, the men used to go through on the left hand side, and they used to meet their partner for the evening on the other side. So I'm just going to take my chances, and we're going to go, I think that way looks far more haunting, so I'm going to go this way. In fact, we can go both ways, because I can come in, I can go out, and whatever, we can go both ways. This plaque here has the full extent of the members of the Hellfire Club. You may recognise some of these names because these were very wealthy men. But not only that, some of them were very famous men, such as the Earl of Sandwich. So yes, these are some of the members of the Hellfire Club. However, there's also a very famous member of the Hellfire Club, Sir Benjamin Franklin, founding father of the USA, who had been known to dabble in a little bit of satanic worship and prostitution, allegedly. Disclaimer alert, I cannot verify those facts, but rumour has it that he frequented the Hellfire Caves and made some quite disturbing comments about women. Apparently his preference was to put a bag over a woman's head whilst having sex with her. Whatever tickles your fancy, I guess. He's also said some quite dodgy things, like if you pick an older lady, they will be more grateful and therefore a better lover. Very controversial, but these were powerful men doing exactly what they want, which was, in fact, the very essence and the motto of the Hellfire Club. I'm getting deeper and deeper underground, and at the bottom of this passage there is a very eerie cage with a couple of mannequins in, which, quite frankly, are the most terrifying thing I've encountered so far. But I think the deeper under the church I go, the more terrifying this trip is going to be. So come with me. These are remnants of some of the poems that are carved into the walls here, but there is more to the Hellfire Caves that I'm going to see today, because there are secret passages that are actually bricked up and inaccessible. Some people say that these passages are bricked up because they contain dead bodies and bones. Again, I cannot verify that fact, but they were boarded up, they were bricked up for a reason. As with most things, things are cut off from public view because something sinister has gone down in one way or another. And it would be very in keeping with the nature of the Hellfire Caves, or the rumours of the Hellfire Caves that many people believe today. So I feel like this could actually be the spot where the women go one way and the men go the other. But this has happened twice now. This is the second time that the cave has split. So if this leads to the Banqueting Hall, then I was definitely in the wrong place when I was sharing that story a few minutes ago. So I'm going to go left, right, left, right, left, right. I could toss a coin, but I don't have a coin. So this way is definitely more open. So this way is definitely more terrifying. So I'm going to go this way and see where I end up. The mannequins are absolutely terrifying, and there is a very famous ghost story attached to this woman in a white dress who I believe is supposed to represent, I think she's supposed to represent the ghost of Suki, but she is right next to a plaque that is talking about children in the caves. Can you actually imagine being down here as a small child and using this as a place to play? That is certainly a far cry from the local park. That must have set their imaginations completely alight. Very, very scary indeed. In fact, this part of the cage feels like a cage. It's because I'm looking at bars. This part of the cave is actually getting more scary because it's a little bit like a labyrinth. There are a few different passages that all lead to different areas. In fact, they all come back to the same place, but it's still a little bit disorientating. And in fact, because obviously we're going deeper underground, the air is thinner. A lot of people have been known to feel dizzy and to feel faint. So some people may say that that is due to paranormal activity, but it probably is worth considering the altitude factors and the fact that we are getting deeper and deeper underground. So on that note, we'll keep going. Oh, this is the Banqueting Hall. This is the largest open space here down in the caves, and this is the first point in which I feel completely sick, like I have goosebumps all the way up and down my skin. And part way down that passage, something very, very weird happens and the whole energy starts to shift. Now, this is a huge open space, almost like an underground amphitheatre. There are 4 alcoves which are gated off, and back in the day, these used to have beds inside them and curtains, and this is where they would do the deed. All kinds of sex and debauchery would happen in those beds, and apparently, in fact, this is a fact, it's not an apparently, there are markers on the wall as a body count, sort of a tally chart for every time one of the members would have sex. So there is a really weird feeling in here that I do not like. Just like sickness. Anyway, I'll try and find those markings. So under each of these little alcoves are the tally marks that I was just telling you about. And in fact, on the wall there is some advice from Benjamin Franklin that echoes what I was saying earlier. He used to give young men advice on how to pick a mistress. And like I said, do not pick a virgin. Pick an older lady because they are more grateful of your attention. And I'll go over there and find the exact quote because it's kind of interesting. So here is the plaque I'm talking about, and this is where you'll find his infamous quote that in the dark all cats are grey. So there you go, it was very dark down here, and I guess that sums up his thoughts on women and their genitalia. Anyway, enough about Benjamin Franklin. I actually have a very haunting ghost story to tell you about the Banqueting Hall, because this is where one young woman lost her life, or spent the final few moments of her life. Let me share the story of a young woman named Suki, who apparently met her demise in the Banqueting Hall. Now, in the olden days, a lot of travellers and a lot of young men passed through West Wycombe. Apparently, Suki was a barmaid at the local pub. She fell head over heels with a man who was travelling through the town. Or is it a village? Well, either way, she fell head over heels with a young man, and she believed that he had sent her a note to summon her down to the caves. So, all excited, she got on her wedding dress. She ran to the caves, excited to meet her love. And she came into the banqueting hall, and there were several young boys from the village who were laughing at her and ridiculing her because she was standing there in her wedding dress. And this was all just an elaborate hoax at her expense. And these young boys started throwing stones at her. One of these stones apparently hit her in the head, causing her to die. Some people believe that she died in the walls of the banqueting hall. Other people believe that she was just severely injured and she managed to clamber through the cave system and actually died up on the hill just outside the caves. But either way, this was where Suki spent her final few moments, and she is the most famous and notorious ghost of the Hellfire Caves. And many people see her apparition, the apparition of a young woman in a wedding dress, fleeting through the caves, still looking for her lost love. Now, I am not picking up the ghost of Suki. I am sensing something really, really quite troubling and disturbing, and it's willing me to go that way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow my instinct, which is not always a good thing with me, but I'm going to go that way. And I think this is the passage where the 12 disciples, this is all very religious, there was a hierarchy system in the Hellfire Club. There was the founding member, there were his 12 disciples, but only 12 men were allowed to go into the inner sanctum. And these 12 men were arguably the most sadistic and the most twisted. Ooh, that's really weird. Members of the Hellfire Club. So I'm going to keep going and see what I find. I've reached the triangle, which again could be the spot which divides people. Sinners one way, saints the other. I feel like we're really deep underground now. We're about to cross the river Styx. We're about to end up in the inner temple. It's funny because when you look at the plan of the Hellfire Caves, it really does look like there is just one single route. But there are lots of little passages that are coming off the main route, and I've just reached the triangle. This feels like the spot where sinners go one way, saints go the other. There is kind of a recurring theme that the passageway on the right is a lot more sinister. When I say right, I mean it would be my left, but if you were facing it, the passages on this side are always darker, always more sinister looking, always narrower, and the ones on this side are always more open, which is kind of interesting. At this point in the caves, it starts to feel quite unpleasant, and yeah, I'm just kind of seeing quite strange apparitions at this point. Not very nice apparitions, I'll be honest with you, but I want to get to the inner sanctum, and we're about to cross the river Styx, so I'm going to go the more sinister looking route because I'm made from that kind of cloth, so. I have just found the devil. If ever you wanted a clue as to what went on between these walls, then I think I found it, because there was obviously some kind of devil worshipping or devil summoning going on down here. And I still haven't made it to the Inner Sanctum, but I'm starting to feel quite ill. I'm getting very, very graphic images, and I almost don't want to share what I'm seeing at the moment, but let's keep going on this. So right here, the cave gets very narrow. In fact, I'm 5'8" and I can barely stand up because we are directly underneath the river Styx, which makes me feel slightly claustrophobic, to be honest with you. So this is really quite picturesque. You can actually see the river as we're crossing it, and all the stalagmites or stalactites. Like, I'm not an expert on caves, but it's pretty special. And like I said earlier, only the 12 apostles, again another reference to biblical studies, or the flip side of biblical studies, were allowed over the river into the Inner Sanctum. So the Inner Sanctum is the deepest, darkest, furthest point of the cave. So come with me. This was the spot where rumoured satanic rituals took place. Now, I didn't share this with you earlier, but I am getting very, very strange apparitions, and it's a very gruesome apparition. It's of a young woman, and her face is... This young woman she's impaled, and it's kind of like this instrument, like this stick, is coming out through her mouth. And she's being like paraded around naked on this stick. And she's like, it's like weird. She's like draped in this, it's like hanging off her like this cloth, like this black fabric. It's like this kind of habit that's hanging off her, and she's being paraded. And there's just like blacked out eyes. odd. It's like she's being bathed almost. It's like, when a child gets christened and their head is like dipped into water. It's kind of like that, but she's like impaled. It's just the most graphic, gruesome thing. She's like being bathed in like from a jug. It's like wine. It's not clear. And there's like a mix of like blood and wine. They are literally mocking. They are trying to summon and aggravate. They're trying to summon and get to hell. They're trying to like summon the devil. That's what's went on in here. And the sacrifices and the rituals of evil just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And whatever energy like that's in here, like people say, oh, it's a ghost, it's got a name. It's more than that. It's the energy of that summoning over and over again. It doesn't have a name. It's really weird, like sometimes like I feel like there's like drawing me towards the ground or drawing me towards the earth because I'm losing my balance, like my body is like going like jelly, like I'm almost shaking. Something is drawing me towards the ground, towards like the center point of like God knows what, like hell or something. It's the weirdest thing. And like I said, we are directly below the church altar. I mean, I'm all into like symbolism, like I'm really into symbolism, and you can't really get more symbolic than that. Something happened to do like a little spirit rod session. And again, like the instinct to drop, to be close to the earth was quite weird. So, I mean, I don't even know what I'm asking, but so just for clarity, crossing them means yes, and for going apart means no. Was the devil summoned within these walls? have to say, like, it's quite hard to keep still, so I don't want to be influencing this in any way. But there's just something that wants me to be down here on the floor, so. Was a young woman sacrificed within these walls? Whoa. I am. Is your name Mary? That's so weird. I don't know why I just got the name Mary. It's quite biblical as well, which is quite ironic, but maybe the woman who I saw sacrifice was called Mary. Or maybe maybe they were mocking her. Maybe Mary was like another. If you were sacrificing the Virgin Mary, I mean, what a kind of twisted, messed up ritual that would be. I don't know whether they gave her a name and called her Mary in some kind of satanic role play, but I feel like she was called Mary, especially within the context of this ritual as well. Did Mary die here? Not quite as conclusive, but I mean, she was impaled in this vision. I mean, you wouldn't be surviving that. Oh, that really hurt. What actually just happened then? Because that was really odd. I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like, it doesn't feel very nice. It feels like there's eyes all around me, which is kind of ironic because there's like skulls carved into the walls, but I'll tell you what's odd. The vision has followed me here, but there was a very distinct point in the cave system where the energy changed and that vision started, and in some ways it was stronger just outside the banqueting hall, which is kind of weird, really. In those few minutes, I almost felt like I blacked out. And it's like I just saw. It just sounds so dramatic. It's like I just came face to face with some kind of entity. I need to stop talking because it's going to sound insane. I need a few minutes. I'm back in the banqueting hall. I feel quite weird. I feel a bit like I'm in a daze. When I started filming here, I was quite high energy, And I do feel like the life has been sucked out of me slightly. I slowly walked back to the banqueting hall, and I'm going to slowly emerge and make my way above ground. That was an interesting one. That was so bizarre. Like, I guess I know why this place has been giving me nightmares. What is that? Oh, it's drips, body juice. So I'm emerging from hellfire, slightly shaky, having came face to face with the devil, covered in body juice. Perhaps I'll never quite be the same again, but either way, this place is steeped in history. There's a story around every corner. This place is a haven for the imagination. It's a fabulous underground system of debauchery. It's really weird. I actually can't string a sentence together, which is slightly concerning. I do feel a little bit affected by what happened in the Inner Sanctum sanctuary. Inner Sanctum. Yeah, I just do feel a little bit off kilter, so I'm going to wrap this video here, but I feel quite confused and disorientated. But the Hellfire Caves didn't disappoint. Thank you for watching. Bye. A nun's poem. I was taught at 16 by a masculine gun, till I learned from a pistol to handle a gun. And then I encountered a friar from Ferns that used to serve her and the abbot by turns. Thus my nun watched the signals and had for her pains both the abbot's learning and other small gains, for the abbot to balance and make accounts fair, but all the young novices under her care. Now whether in Sappho 'twas passion or whim, she amused herself better with me than with him. So we struck up a bargain that pleased us three, and I stuck to the friar and she stuck to me. Jen played on the flute with her fingers so white, and twinkled her eyes and kept time very night. Then he served up his cousin a delicate blade, and old Bridget his aunt for the sake of her maid. And lastly he ravished his lady so meek, when she had not laid in much more than a week, although she declared she would give her consent, but vowed the last week to lie fallow in Lent.